The Unseen Curriculum, Chapter 1, The Precipice of Dismissal. Seattle, Washington, 2008. The fluorescent hum of the faculty lounge at Northwood High felt louder than usual, vibrating with an ominous energy. Sarah Bennett, 45, sat rigidly, a cup of lukewarm tea clutched in her trembling hands. Her English classroom, usually her sanctuary, now felt like a gilded cage, the walls closing in. She was an English teacher, a lover of Shakespeare and the Romantics, a believer in the transformative power of words. But lately, words felt like heavy stones dragging her down. The call from Principal Samuel Green had been curt, his tone clipped. "Sarah, my office, now." It was the third such summons this semester, and she knew, with a cold certainty that seeped into her bones, what it meant. Her 11th grade English class, usually a bastion of intellectual curiosity, had performed abysmally on the district's standardized writing assessment, the lowest scores in Northwood's history. A school renowned for its academic excellence. It wasn't just the scores. Sarah knew, deep down, she was faltering. Her personal life, a turbulent storm of anxieties, had begun to spill into her professional one. Her elderly mother, grappling with a recent diagnosis of early-stage Alzheimer's, required increasingly intensive care. The mounting medical bills, the endless appointments, the crushing guilt of not being enough for her mother. For her students, it was a relentless tide pulling her under. Sleep was a luxury she rarely afforded, and her once sharp wit in the classroom had dulled into a weary monotone. She tried, God knows she tried. She stayed up late grading papers, prepared meticulously for lessons, pored over curriculum guides, but the spark was gone. The creative energy that once made her classes vibrant and engaging had fizzled out, replaced by a desperate, almost mechanical delivery of material. Her students, sensitive barometers of a teacher's presence, had sensed it. Their engagement waned, their eyes glazed over, and their test scores became a stark, undeniable testament to her decline. Principal Green's office was a sterile expanse of polished wood and muted tones. He sat behind a large desk, his expression unreadable. "Sarah," he began, his voice devoid of warmth, "we need to talk about your performance, specifically. The recent writing assessment results. They are, frankly, unacceptable." He didn't mince words. He laid out the statistics, the graphs, the plummeting numbers. He spoke of the school's reputation, the expectations of parents, the standards she was failing to meet. Sarah sat there, numb, nodding occasionally, her gaze fixed on a framed photograph of the school's founding principal, a stern, unsmiling figure from a bygone era. She felt a profound sense of failure. Not just professionally, but personally. She was failing her students, failing her mother, failing herself. "Sarah," Principal Green concluded, his voice softening just enough to convey a painful finality. "This is your last warning. If there isn't a significant, measurable improvement by the end of the next quarter, I'm afraid we'll have to consider alternative arrangements for your position. Northwood values excellence, and right now, your class is not reflecting that." The words hung in the air, a death knell to her career, to the only profession she had ever truly loved. She mumbled a barely audible "understood" and walked out of his office, the fluorescent hum of the faculty lounge now a deafening roar in her ears. Dismissal. Unemployment. How would she care for her mother? The thought was a cold knot in her stomach. She was at the precipice, teetering on the edge of professional and personal ruin, a teacher who had lost her way, staring into the abyss of her own undoing. Chapter 2, A Quiet Proposal. The news of Principal Green's ultimatum spread through the faculty lounge like wildfire. Whispers followed Sarah down the hallway, glances sharpened with a mix of pity and judgment. Her friend and colleague Lisa, a cheerful history teacher, offered sympathetic glances, but even her usual optimism seemed dimmed by the severity of the situation. "Sarah," Lisa had whispered, "this is serious. What are you going to do?" Sarah had no answer. She felt paralyzed, consumed by the overwhelming weight of her responsibilities and her growing sense of inadequacy. She went through the motions, teaching her classes, but her heart wasn't in it. The spark that had once ignited her passion for literature had dwindled to a flicker. It was during her 5th period English class, the very one whose dismal test scores had sealed her fate, that the unexpected happened. The class was usually lively, full of boisterous teenagers, but today they were subdued, sensing the palpable tension emanating from their teacher. Sarah was droning through a lesson on literary devices, her voice flat, when a hand, small and almost imperceptible, rose tentatively in the back row. It was Emily Chen, 16 years old, with quiet, observant eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Emily was a brilliant student, exceptionally bright, with an analytical mind that often saw connections others missed. But she was also profoundly introverted, rarely speaking in class unless directly called upon. Her presence almost ghost-like. She absorbed everything, a silent sponge, but shared little. Sarah paused, surprised. Emily rarely spoke. "Yes, Emily?" she asked, her voice tinged with wariness. Emily hesitated, her gaze darting around the room, as if weighing her words, perhaps even the audacity of her interjection. "Ms. Bennett," she began, her voice soft but clear. I've been thinking about the writing assessment and how we could improve." A ripple of surprise went through the class. Even some of the most disengaged students looked up. Sarah felt a faint flicker of hope, immediately dampened by cynicism. What could a 16-year-old girl possibly know about turning around an entire class's performance? "Go on, Emily," Sarah said, trying to keep the skepticism out of her voice. Emily walked to the front of the class, her posture surprisingly confident for someone so quiet. She picked up a marker and wrote 3 words on the whiteboard: context, connection, voice. "Ms. Bennett," Emily explained, turning to face the class, her eyes bright with an unexpected intensity. "The test focuses on structure, grammar, vocabulary. But writing isn't just about rules. It's about ideas, about finding what resonates with us." She gestured to the class. "When we're just learning rules, we memorize. We don't internalize. We don't connect with the material." She turned back to Sarah, her gaze piercing. What if, instead of focusing on just the mechanics, we focused on finding our own stories, our own context for what we read, how we connect to it, and then how we find our own unique voice to express it? Sarah stared at her, dumbfounded. Emily was articulating something she, in her exhaustion, had completely forgotten: the soul of teaching. Not just drills and rules, but inspiration and connection. For example, Emily continued, warming to her theme, instead of just analyzing Shakespeare's sonnets, what if we wrote our own sonnets about our own lives, our own loves, our own struggles, using his structure, but our own contemporary voice? Or if we read a historical speech we don't just identify the rhetorical devices, but write our own speeches on current issues we care about, applying those same techniques. The class was silent, listening intently. This was a radical departure from the rote memorization and formulaic essays they were used to. It was engaging. Sarah felt a surge of conflicting emotions, defensiveness, humiliation that a student had to remind her of her own forgotten principles, and a powerful, desperate hope. Emily's quiet proposal wasn't just about test scores. It was about rekindling the very essence of learning, the spark that Sarah herself had lost. It was unconventional, perhaps even audacious, but in her desperate situation, it was a lifeline. Principal Green had given her a last chance. Emily Chen, her quiet, brilliant student, had just offered her a path forward, an unseen curriculum to reclaim not just her job, but perhaps her very soul. Chapter 3: The Unconventional Classroom. The conversation with Emily Chen after class was both humbling and exhilarating. Emily, usually so reserved, spoke with a clarity and passion that belied her age. She had meticulously analyzed the district's writing assessment rubric, identifying its weaknesses and its potential for exploitation. "Miss Bennett," she explained, a shy smile gracing her lips, "they want structure, clarity, and evidence of critical thinking. But they also reward originality and a strong thesis. If we can teach students to connect their lives to the literature, to find their voice within the structure, they won't just pass the test, they'll excel." Her plan was audacious. Ditch the rote drills. Embrace personal narratives. Connect every literary work to the student's own experiences, anxieties, and aspirations. Instead of simply dissecting essays, they would become essayists themselves. Instead of just identifying poetic devices, they would craft their own poems. Emily had even drafted a rough syllabus, complete with suggested readings and writing prompts, all designed to foster genuine engagement. Sarah felt a rush of both excitement and fear. This was a radical departure. Principal Green was a stickler for tradition. "Emily," Sarah said, "this is brilliant, but it's also incredibly unconventional. The school administration might not approve." Emily's gaze was steady. "Miss Bennett, you said yourself you're on your last warning. What do you have to lose? This isn't just about the test. It's about making English class meaningful again." Her words resonated deeply. Sarah knew Emily was right. She had nothing to lose but her job, and she was already on the verge of losing that. This was a Hail Mary pass, a desperate gamble. The next day, Sarah approached Principal Green. She explained Emily's proposal, presenting it as a student-led initiative to boost engagement and critical thinking. She emphasized the potential for innovation, the focus on deeper learning. Principal Green, initially skeptical, listened with a furrowed brow. He was a man of numbers, of proven results. "Bennett," he said, his voice flat, "I'm giving you until the end of the quarter. If those scores don't improve, this unconventional classroom will be your last." It wasn't an endorsement. But it wasn't a flat-out dismissal either. It was a grudging final chance. Sarah walked back into her fifth period class with a renewed sense of purpose, a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. She looked at Emily, sitting quietly in the back row, a faint, almost imperceptible nod of encouragement on her face. "All right, class," Sarah announced, her voice clearer, more energized than it had been in months. "We're going to try something different." The students met her announcement with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Over the next few weeks, the classroom underwent a quiet revolution. Sarah, guided by Emily's insightful observations and subtle suggestions, transformed her teaching. They started with Shakespeare. Instead of dry analysis of meter and metaphor, Sarah assigned them to write their own modern sonnets about teenage angst, first loves, social media dilemmas. The results were raw, funny, and surprisingly insightful. They didn't just understand Shakespeare's structure, they inhabited it. They debated contemporary issues using classic rhetorical techniques they'd learned from reading historical speeches. They wrote personal essays exploring their own identities and experiences, drawing inspiration from memoirs and personal narratives. Emily, always a step ahead, would often suggest a particular student might benefit from a specific type of writing prompt or a different approach to feedback. She was a silent, incredibly effective co-teacher, a brilliant strategist. Sarah watched amazed as her students, once disengaged, came alive. The shy ones found their voice in poetry. The rebellious ones channeled their anger into powerful argumentative essays. The once dreaded writing workshops became lively, supportive sessions where students critiqued each other's work with genuine enthusiasm. They were not just learning how to write, they were learning why. They were discovering their own stories, their own connections, their own unique voices. The biggest transformation, however, was within Sarah herself. The joy of teaching, long dormant, reignited. She felt her mind sharpening, her creativity returning. The stress of her mother's illness still weighed on her, but the renewed purpose in her professional life gave her strength, a vital source of energy she desperately needed. She was teaching again, truly teaching, connecting with her students on a profound level. And it was all thanks to a quiet, observant 16-year-old who saw beyond her struggles, who saw the unseen curriculum waiting to be taught. Chapter 4: The Triumph of the Unconventional. The quarter flew by in a blur of creative chaos and newfound purpose. Sarah's English classroom, once a place of dull routine, now buzzed with energy. Students debated fiercely, wrote passionately, and read with a hunger she hadn't seen in years. Emily Chen, always observant, continued to offer subtle, insightful suggestions, often a quiet whisper after class, a brief note slipped onto Sarah's desk, or a nuanced observation about a particular student's learning style. She was an invaluable, silent partner in this unconventional educational experiment. The transformation was evident in every aspect of the class. Homework assignments, once grudgingly completed, were now turned in with pride and often exceeded expectations. Class discussions, previously forced, flowed naturally, with students eagerly contributing their unique perspectives. The school library saw an unprecedented surge in demand for literary classics and contemporary nonfiction, a direct result of Sarah's new approach to connecting literature to life. As the end of the quarter approached, so did the looming shadow of the next standardized writing assessment. The tension in the school was palpable. Principal Green, a man who believed only in measurable data, had made it clear these scores would be the ultimate determinant of Sarah's fate. The day of the test arrived. Sarah walked into the classroom, a knot of anxiety twisting in her stomach. She looked at her students, their faces a mix of nervousness and quiet confidence. She saw the eager anticipation in some eyes, the newfound self-belief in others, and in the back row, Emily Chen offered a small, almost imperceptible smile of encouragement. "Remember what we've learned," Sarah told them, her voice steady. "Find your voice, make your connections, tell your story. The structure is just a framework for your ideas," they wrote. For 2 hours, The only sound was the scratching of pens and the rustle of paper. When the last test was collected, Sarah felt a profound sense of exhaustion, but also a quiet sense of accomplishment. Whatever the results, she knew she had given them and herself her absolute best. The wait for the scores felt interminable. Sarah spent her days grading other classes' papers, her mind consumed by the impending judgment. Principal Green remained stoic, offering no hints or reassurances. Then the email. The subject line, writing assessment results, 11th grade English. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. She opened the attachment, her eyes scanning down, bracing for the worst. The numbers jumped out at her. Not just improvement, but a dramatic, unprecedented leap. Her class, the one that had held the lowest scores in school history, now boasted the highest average in the district. Their scores weren't just above average, they were exceptional. The students hadn't just met the standards, they had soared past them. Their unique voices and insightful connections clearly evident in their essays. Sarah stared at the screen, tears blurring her vision. It was real. They had done it. She had done it. Or rather, Emily had done it, and she had been the conduit. Minutes later, her phone rang. It was Principal Green. His voice, for the first time in months, was filled with genuine surprise and admiration. "Sarah," he said, "I just received the results. I'm speechless. This is phenomenal, truly remarkable." "How did you do it?" Sarah took a deep breath, a wave of relief washing over her. "It was the students, Principal," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Their dedication, their willingness to engage in a new approach. We focused on finding their individual voices, connecting the material to their own lives." She didn't mention Emily by name. Emily had made it clear she didn't seek credit. It was their secret, a quiet triumph shared between teacher and student. Principal Green was effusive in his praise. "Well, whatever you did, keep doing it. Your position, Sarah, is not only secure, but your methods will be a case study for the entire district. You've truly outdone yourself." The conversation ended, and Sarah sank into her chair, a profound wave of gratitude washing over her. She was safe. She had saved her job, and it was all thanks to a quiet, unassuming teenager who had seen her struggle, believed in her potential, and offered an unconventional path to redemption. The triumph of the unconventional classroom wasn't just about test scores. It was about the power of quiet genius, the profound impact of genuine connection, and the unexpected ways in which salvation can arrive, often from the most unassuming of sources. Chapter 5. Paths Diverge. With her job secured and her reputation restored, Sarah Bennett embraced her unconventional teaching methods fully. Her English classroom became a vibrant hub of creativity and critical thinking. She continued to work closely with Chen, who, in her quiet way, remained an invaluable sounding board, offering insights that consistently amazed Sarah. Their bond, forged in the crucible of Sarah's professional crisis, deepened into a unique mentorship, with the lines often blurring between who was truly teaching whom. Emily, a true intellectual powerhouse, excelled not just in English, but across all subjects. Her brilliance was undeniable, her quiet determination inspiring. When college application season arrived, it was no surprise that she received acceptance letters from every Ivy League institution she applied to. She chose Stanford University, the decision Sarah applauded with a bittersweet pang. She was immensely proud of Emily, but a part of her would miss their daily intellectual exchanges. Before Emily left for college, Sarah invited her to a quiet dinner. "Emily," Sarah said, raising a glass of sparkling cider, "I can never thank you enough. You saved my career. More than that, you reminded me why I became a teacher in the first place. You rekindled my passion. You taught me so much." Emily smiled, a rare, genuine smile that softened her usually serious demeanor. "Miss Bennett," she replied, "you were a good teacher. You just needed a reminder of your own strengths. I just helped you see it." Her humility was as remarkable as her intellect. They stayed in touch through the years. Emily excelled at Stanford, pursuing a double major in computer science and literature, a testament to her unique blend of analytical and creative brilliance. Sarah followed her progress with pride, watching her former student transform into an accomplished young woman destined for great things in the burgeoning tech world. Sarah's own career at Northwood High continued to flourish. She became a mentor to other teachers, sharing her innovative methods, often citing the student-led initiative that had turned her fortunes around. Her mother's health stabilized, though her memory continued its slow, inexorable decline. The financial strain eased, and Sarah found a new rhythm, balancing her demanding career with her filial responsibilities. Life, however, is a series of shifting currents. Years passed. The educational landscape changed. Budget cuts hit school districts hard, and in 2022, after nearly 25 years of dedicated service, Sarah, along with many other experienced teachers, received the dreaded notification. Her position was being eliminated due to school-wide restructuring and a focus on cost-effective digital learning solutions. The news was a gut punch, not a dismissal for poor performance this time, but a harsh reality of a changing world. Sarah was 60 now, too young for full retirement, but too old, she felt, to easily adapt to the new, tech-driven educational environment that valued efficiency over personal connection. The teaching fire, though it had burned brightly for years, now seemed to be fading, its light dimming against the backdrop of an evolving profession. She explored other teaching opportunities, but the market was saturated, and her traditional methods, while effective, were no longer considered cutting edge. She considered leaving education altogether, a heartbreaking thought. What else could she do? Her skills were specialized, her passion deeply rooted in the classroom. She tried tutoring, but the income was sporadic. The medical bills for her mother, though manageable, were a constant reminder of her financial responsibilities. Sarah felt adrift, a seasoned professional suddenly rendered obsolete, struggling to find her footing in a world that had seemingly passed her by. Then, out of the blue, her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. She answered hesitantly. A voice, calm and familiar, spoke. "Miss Bennett, it's Emily Chen." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Emily, it had been years since they last spoke. "Emily, my goodness, how wonderful to hear from you. How are you?" "I'm well, Miss Bennett," Emily replied, her voice holding a new maturity, a quiet confidence Sarah recognized. "Actually, I called because I heard about the restructuring at Northwood. I'm so sorry to hear about your position." "Yes," Sarah sighed, a wave of weariness washing over her. "It's a challenge. I'm exploring new options." "That's why I called," Emily continued, her tone thoughtful. "My husband and I recently had a baby, a boy, Liam, and we're looking for someone exceptional to care for him. Someone warm, intelligent, with a deep understanding of children's minds. Someone who values curiosity and critical thinking. We've been through a few nannies, but none have quite fit." Sarah listened, her mind reeling. Emily Chen, her former student, now a mother, was offering her a nanny position? The irony was almost overwhelming. The student who had saved her teaching career was now years later, offering her a lifeline in an entirely different capacity. Her path had diverged, taken an unexpected turn, leading her full circle back to a connection forged in the classroom, but now in a completely new, unforeseen role. The unseen curriculum, it seemed, had a new lesson for her to learn. Chapter 6: The New Classroom. The offer from Emily Chen was startling, unexpected, and utterly humbling. Sarah, the former teacher, was now contemplating becoming a nanny for her former student's child. The irony was almost poetic, a full circle of fate she could never have anticipated. "A nanny, Emily?" Sarah asked, a faint tremor in her voice during their video call. I've never been a nanny before. My experience is in teaching high school English, not childcare." Emily smiled, a rare, genuine warmth in her eyes. "Ms. Bennett, you taught me more than just English. You taught me to think, to connect, to find my voice. You inspired me. You have a profound understanding of how minds work, how to nurture curiosity. Liam, my son, he's incredibly bright, very observant, much like I was at his age. He needs more than just someone to watch him. He needs a guide, a gentle mentor. And frankly," she added, a hint of steel in her voice, "I trust you implicitly, more than anyone else I've interviewed." Her words were a balm to Sarah's bruised professional ego. Emily, now a highly successful tech executive, co-founder of a thriving AI startup, saw beyond the job title, recognizing the core of Sarah's abilities. Emily's husband, Mark, not the same Mark from the earlier story, a different character entirely, a quiet, supportive man, joined the conversation, nodding in agreement. "We need someone truly special, Ms. Bennett," he affirmed. "Liam is our world." Sarah, still reeling from her unexpected redundancy and with her mother's care still a significant financial consideration, realized this wasn't just a job offer. It was a lifeline, a chance to rediscover her purpose. The pay was generous, the hours flexible, and the opportunity to be part of Emily's family, even in this new capacity, felt profoundly significant. She accepted. The transition was, initially, a fascinating challenge. Sarah moved into a spacious guest house on Emily and Mark's sprawling estate in the affluent Seattle suburbs. Liam, a bright, inquisitive 4-year-old, was indeed remarkably like his mother at that age, observant, introverted, with a deep curiosity about the world. Her new classroom was the Chen household, the sun-drenched living room, the sprawling garden, the local library, the children's museum. Her curriculum was no longer Shakespeare or literary analysis, but the vast, unfolding world through the eyes of a 4-year-old. Sarah discovered an unexpected joy in this new role. She read to Liam for hours, not just children's books, but simplified versions of classic myths and legends, igniting his imagination. She encouraged his endless questions, patiently explaining complex concepts in simple terms. She taught him to observe the world around him, to question, to connect, to find his own voice, the very lessons Emily had once taught her to teach. She found herself adapting her teaching skills in entirely new ways. The patience she cultivated for challenging high schoolers now applied to a curious preschooler. Her ability to break down complex literary themes translated into making scientific concepts accessible for a young mind. Her love for storytelling, once confined to dissecting narratives, now found its purest expression in crafting tales for a captivated audience of one. Emily, despite her demanding career, was a highly involved and thoughtful mother. She respected Sarah's autonomy in caring for Liam, but they often discussed Liam's development, sharing observations and strategies. Their relationship, once clearly defined as teacher-student, now shifted into a more fluid adult dynamic, built on mutual respect and shared affection for Liam. Sarah sometimes felt a surreal sense of reversal. Here she was, taking instructions from her former student, albeit implicitly, on how to nurture a child. But there was no resentment, only gratitude and a profound sense of rightness. Emily had saved her job once. Now, Emily was giving her a new sense of purpose, a new classroom where she could continue to teach, to nurture, to inspire. The unseen curriculum, it seemed, was teaching them both, guiding them through the intricate, surprising dance of life's unexpected roles. Sarah, the once struggling teacher, had found her true calling, not in a classroom filled with teenagers, but in the innocent, inquisitive gaze of a bright young boy, the son of the student who had, twice over, saved her. Chapter 7. The Threads of Influence. Life as Liam's nanny settled into a comforting rhythm. Sarah found immense satisfaction in nurturing his bright, inquisitive mind. He was indeed a miniature Emily, observant, preferring quiet contemplation to boisterous play, and endlessly curious. He would sit for hours, listening intently as Sarah read, his big eyes absorbing every detail. He loved to ask why, dissecting concepts with a surprising intellectual rigor for a child his age. Sarah found herself drawing on every ounce of her teaching experience, but filtered through the lens of early childhood development. She wasn't just teaching him words, she was teaching him to love language. She wasn't just showing him experiments, she was teaching him the wonder of discovery. It was a profound, unscripted curriculum, tailored uniquely to Liam's burgeoning mind. Her relationship with Emily deepened further. Emily, juggling a demanding executive role with motherhood, often sought Sarah's insights. "Liam asked me why the sky is blue for an hour yesterday," Emily would say, exhaustion etched on her face. "How do you answer these things, Ms. Bennett?" And Sarah, with a gentle smile, would share her strategies. Her patient explanations, her ability to break down complex ideas into digestible, wondrous truths. It was a strange, beautiful reversal of roles. The former student now seeking guidance from her former teacher, but in the context of motherhood. There were moments, sometimes, when Sarah would watch Emily interact with Liam, and a wave of profound understanding would wash over her. Emily, the brilliant, quiet student who had saved her job, was now a brilliant, dedicated mother. And in Liam, Sarah saw echoes of the child Emily had been, and a reflection of the lessons Emily had indirectly imparted to her. Emily hadn't just given Sarah a method to teach, she had embodied the very essence of genuine curiosity, critical thinking, and the importance of finding one's unique voice. Sarah realized she wasn't just Liam's nanny. She was, in a way, completing a circle of influence, passing on the very values Emily had, years ago, helped her to rediscover. The household became a place of quiet, intellectual growth. Emily and Mark trusted Sarah implicitly, allowing her the freedom to structure Liam's days with educational enrichment and creative play. Sarah, in turn, found a renewed sense of purpose. Her previous career had ended not with a whimper, but with a surprising, quiet grace. She realized that teaching was not confined to a classroom, nor to a specific age group. It was a way of being, a way of nurturing minds, no matter their stage of development. The experience also brought a profound emotional healing. The stress of her mother's illness, though still present, felt less crushing. The guilt of her past professional struggles had dissipated entirely, replaced by the quiet confidence of knowing she was truly making a difference in Liam's life and in Emily's. She had found a new way to contribute, to find meaning, to embody the very essence of a teacher. One evening, after Liam was asleep, Emily sat with Sarah in the living room, a rare moment of quiet. "Ms. Bennett," Emily said, her voice soft. "You know, when I was in high school, I saw how much you loved teaching, even when things were difficult for you. I just knew you had so much more to give. I just needed to help you unlock it." Sarah's eyes welled up. "You saved me, Emily, twice over. First my career, and now you've given me a new purpose, a new joy. I never thought I'd find such fulfillment after teaching." Emily reached out and gently squeezed Sarah's hand. "It was never about saving Miss Bennett. It was about recognizing a beautiful spirit that was momentarily lost. You always had it. You're still teaching. You're just teaching the most important student now." The words hung in the air, a profound affirmation. Sarah looked at Emily, her brilliant, insightful student, now a confident woman and a loving mother. She looked at the quiet house, filled with the warmth of Liam's sleeping presence. She realized the unseen curriculum had always been at play, weaving the threads of their lives together, ensuring that the student who had once rescued the teacher would, years later, offer her a new classroom, a new purpose, and a profound understanding of life's most beautiful, unexpected lessons. This was not just a job, it was a destiny, a testament to the enduring power of connection and the remarkable turns of fate that bring us exactly where we need to be. Chapter 8, The Unfolding Circle. Years continued to unfurl, bringing new chapters and deepening the intricate narrative of Sarah and Emily's lives. Liam grew into a bright, articulate boy, his early inquisitiveness nurtured by Sarah's dedicated guidance. He excelled in school, demonstrating a love for learning that brought immense pride to both his parents and his beloved Auntie Sarah, as he affectionately called her. Sarah, now in her early 70s, remained an integral part of the Chen household. She had eased into a more flexible role as Liam grew older and required less constant supervision. She continued to be his confidant, his homework helper, and his chief storyteller. Her connection with Emily had evolved into a deep, abiding friendship, transcending their former roles. They were no longer just teacher and student, or employer and employee, but two women bound by an extraordinary history and a profound mutual respect. Emily, a successful entrepreneur, often sought Sarah's quiet wisdom not just on matters concerning Liam, but on life's challenges. Sarah, in turn, found a profound joy in witnessing Emily's continued growth and success, seeing the young girl who saved her career bloom into a leader, an innovator, and a devoted mother. The unseen curriculum that Emily had first articulated so many years ago continued to manifest in unexpected ways. Sarah found herself sharing her experiences not just with Emily, but with younger nannies and caregivers, emphasizing the importance of genuine connection, of nurturing curiosity over rote instruction. She became an informal mentor in the childcare community, her insights revered. Her own mother, Sarah's primary caregiver responsibility for so many years, had passed away peacefully a few years prior, a life lived to its fullest. While the loss was deeply felt, Sarah found comfort in knowing she had fulfilled her duty with love and dedication, a dedication she could only have maintained thanks to the stability and purpose Emily's offer had provided. The full circle of their relationship became beautifully evident in small, poignant moments. One evening, Liam, then a thoughtful teenager, was struggling with an essay for his English class. He had come to Sarah, frustrated. "I don't know what to write, Auntie Sarah. I can't find my voice." Sarah smiled, a knowing glint in her eye. She remembered that very struggle, that very phrase. "Liam," she said gently, "your mother, when she was your age, taught me a powerful lesson. She said writing is about finding your own context, your own connection to the material, and then finding your unique voice to express it. What do you care about in this topic? What personal experience, what observation resonates with you?" Liam's face brightened. He sat down, began to sketch ideas, and soon the words flowed. Sarah watched him, a profound sense of satisfaction settling in her heart. She was still teaching, and the lessons Emily had taught her were now being passed on through her to the next generation, completing a beautiful, continuous loop of influence. The cyclical nature of their bond was a source of constant wonder to Sarah. How her quiet, brilliant student had seen her at her lowest, rescued her, and then years later offered her a new calling, a new purpose that transcended traditional roles. It was a testament to the profound connections forged in unexpected places, the wisdom passed between generations, and the subtle, guiding hand of fate. Sarah, in her golden years, felt a deep sense of gratitude and peace. She was no longer defined by a past failure, nor by a lost career. She was defined by the love she had given, the minds she had nurtured, and the extraordinary relationship that had saved her and ultimately reshaped her entire understanding of life's most valuable lessons. The circle had unfolded, revealing a tapestry far richer and more meaningful than she could have ever imagined, woven with threads of gratitude, resilience, and the enduring power of an unseen curriculum. Chapter 9. The Lasting Imprint. In her final years, Evelyn Bennett often reflected on the extraordinary tapestry of her life, particularly the luminous thread woven by Emily Chen. She had witnessed the passing of seasons, the growth of generations, and the profound transformation of her own purpose. No longer defined by a singular career, she had embraced a fluid existence, allowing life's currents to guide her to new, fulfilling shores. Liam, now a young man embarking on his own collegiate journey, remained a testament to Sarah's nurturing influence. He possessed his mother's sharp intellect and quiet wisdom, but also a warmth and expressiveness that Sarah knew she had helped cultivate. Their bond was one of deep affection and mutual respect, a testament to the power of a relationship that transcended conventional labels. Emily Chen, her former student and now dear friend, continued to reach new heights in her professional life. Her AI startup recognized globally for its ethical innovations. Yet, amidst her demanding schedule, she always made time for Sarah, cherishing their conversations, recognizing the unique depth of wisdom Sarah possessed. Their relationship had matured into an equal partnership of intellect and spirit, a rare and precious connection that defied the typical boundaries of age or past roles. Sarah's own understanding of teaching had expanded exponentially. She realized that instruction wasn't limited to classrooms or textbooks. It was in every patient explanation to a curious child, every shared story, every moment of guidance offered to a young mind navigating the complexities of the world. She continued to mentor informal groups of young mothers and nannies, sharing her insights on child development, fostering creativity, and most importantly, emphasizing the profound impact of genuine, heartfelt connection. The initial fear and despair of her near dismissal, so many years ago, had long since faded. What remained was a profound gratitude for the crisis that had, paradoxically, opened the door to an unforeseen and infinitely richer life. Emily had been the catalyst, the quiet force who had not only saved her job, but had set her on a path to a more authentic, fulfilling existence. Sarah understood that the unseen curriculum was not just a teaching method. It was a philosophy of life. It was about looking beyond the obvious, recognizing hidden potential, and understanding that true learning happens when connections are forged between ideas, between people, and between the past, present, and future. Her life was now a living testament to that philosophy. The lasting imprint she left was not solely on the minds of her high school students, or even just on Liam's developing intellect. It was on the very fabric of the Chen family, woven through their daily lives, influencing generations with a quiet, persistent power. In her serene twilight years, sitting in the sun-drenched garden of the Chen estate, watching the leaves rustle in the gentle Seattle breeze, Sarah felt a profound sense of completion. She had lived a life of purpose, love, and unexpected grace. The student had indeed saved the teacher, not just once, but twice. And in doing so, she had allowed the teacher to discover her truest self, to embrace a new path, and to leave an indelible, loving imprint on the world, a legacy far beyond any classroom. The circle of life, profound and beautiful, had fully unfolded, leaving her with a heart overflowing with gratitude and an unwavering sense of peace. Chapter 10: The Echo of Grace. The very last years of Sarah Bennett's life were a testament to the profound serenity she had found. She remained with the Chen family, cherished and revered, her presence a quiet anchor in their bustling, successful lives. Liam, now a young man navigating college, often sought her counsel, his respect for her wisdom unwavering. He carried within him the gentle imprint of her nurturing, a legacy far more significant than any academic achievement. Emily Chen, the catalyst of Sarah's transformation, remained her closest friend and confidant. Their bond was a unique tapestry woven from shared history, deep mutual respect, and an unspoken understanding that transcended words. They would spend hours simply sitting together, often in comfortable silence, a testament to the depth of their connection. Emily often credited Sarah with much of Liam's well-rounded development and with reminding her, Emily, of the vital importance of human connection in an increasingly digital world. Sarah's life had become a quiet, powerful echo of grace. She had faced professional despair and personal anguish, only to be lifted by the most unexpected of hands, those of a young student. And in return, she had given back with an open heart, nurturing a child, supporting a family, and ultimately finding a purpose that resonated far deeper than any initial career aspirations. She reflected often on the cyclical nature of life, the student who needed guidance, the teacher who needed saving, the young woman who offered unconventional wisdom, the older woman who found new purpose in an unconventional role. The lessons learned, imparted, and then reapplied across generations and shifting circumstances. It was a beautiful, intricate dance of reciprocity, where giving and receiving blurred into one continuous, flowing movement. Her final days were peaceful, spent in the comfort of the Chen home, surrounded by the love of the family she had come to consider her own. David and Emily were there, holding her hands, their eyes filled with gratitude and sorrow. Liam, now a man, sat by her bedside, reminiscing about the stories she had told him, the questions she had patiently answered, the world she had opened up for him. As Sarah's breath grew shallow, a faint smile touched her lips. She saw the faces she loved, the lives she had touched, the profound circle of connection that had defined her journey. The unseen curriculum, the grace that had flowed between them, had created a masterpiece. She had been saved, she had served, and she had loved. And in that beautiful exchange, she had found her true, lasting imprint on the world. The echo of grace resonated, a quiet, profound melody of a life lived with purpose, love, and the beautiful, unexpected twists of destiny.